What is the most private, single most private thought that you have? Now, what would it be like if you had that thought exposed? What would it mean to your friend, to your family, to your community, to your partner? I'm going to talk, we're at a forum on openness, and I'm going to talk about privacy and how privacy is the other side of the coin. That privacy is the necessary component. It's the most important tenet to openness. It's important because we need moments of clarity in order to best plan and organize and perhaps think and gather information in private. Thank you. So privacy, what is the definition of privacy? Privacy can be defined as the ability for an individual or a group to seclude and then reveal their most important information. Seclude and then reveal. And to do so selectively and with a forethought. This is a really hard thing to define because we all come at it from a different basis, right? Psychographically, demographically, culturally, in relationships, we have different definitions for what is private. If I were to ask you, has anyone here in the room, raise your hand please, ever sent a naked picture of themselves over the internet to anyone else? I don't see many hands. But if you were 18 years old, right? 28% of you would say yes. 31% of you would say, someone's already asked me. And 50%, 57% to be exact, have actually asked somebody else to send them a naked picture. Why is that? Because our sense demographically, we have very different determinations of what is private. Some might argue that the youngest generation has the least need for privacy in this world. Obviously, different cultures have different perspectives. Different psychographics also have different perspectives. An introvert wants privacy. A celebrity or a politician perhaps is giving it away. Our US government doesn't provide a whole lot of privacy protection. In fact, none of the world's governments do because privacy is so darn hard to define. It's very hard to regulate something when you can't define it. What's the harm of a lack of privacy? For 96% of you, when I ask the first question, the answer is probably something that's embarrassing. For the other 4% of you, it might be something unlawful. But the reality is, the ultimate harm here in the United States or in the developed world is probably identity theft. And identity theft causes about $40 billion a year in harm. But $40 billion is probably not a lot if you live in some of these countries in the black. There are 600 million internet users that live in environments where there is pervasive censorship and internet lack of privacy. And these are folks that every time they put a Twitter feed out, if they set an opinion or have a comment on Facebook, they're putting not only their liberty, but also their lives and their families' lives at risk. And this is where we really need to have that concept of privacy. We need to be able to protect those people so that they can, in turn, do the things like we saw in February of 2011 at the Arab Spring. In Egypt, for example, February 19th, there were a bunch of dissidents who were organizing the protests. And these smart folks used Twitter and Facebook because it was a convenient method. But they soon found out that the government also used Twitter and Facebook as a convenient method for wrapping up or jailing these protest organizers. And so a movement happened using a commercially available product, a virtual private network. People were able to make themselves anonymous, to secure themselves. And that's a really important concept, to secure oneself, to make oneself private. And just in Egypt on February 19th, 2011, that one little VPN company went from 14,000 Egyptian users to over 1 million in 72 hours. That protected a whole lot of lives. Internet and privacy, is there a combination? The answer is no, not really. If you go to Google, in fact, go to google.com/dashboard, they are very transparent about what information they have about you. This is my information. This is exactly me. I'm not going to read it all. But I will tell you there are over 200,000 data points that Google has about things I've searched on, emails I've sent, pictures I've taken, locations of those pictures, with whom and at what time. They have 200,000 items available for us, and we'll get to this, but available for them to sell. I wanted to test something this last weekend. So on Monday, I decided to post on Facebook. And I decided to post in my status update the 3 words, pregnancy test, ultrasound, and morning sickness. And even though Facebook says in its privacy policy, we do not mind your status update, it was only 22 hours before Kimberly-Clark, the Huggies brand, had a diaper advertisement on the side of my... So Facebook may not be targeting you, but their advertisers sure know how to. It's a complex graph, but what this graph tells you is that Facebook and Google aren't the only ones out there looking for your information. In fact, there's a whole lot of companies out there doing that, and they make $40 billion a year selling your privacy to advertising networks. They've commoditized your private thoughts and messages and pictures, and they're selling it to advertisers who will pay the highest price. Why is this private data important? Because the internet really isn't free, right? If you go to a content site, somebody's got to pay that reporter. If you go to a game, somebody's got to pay the designer. That content has to be delivered by a content delivery network, and that includes servers and data centers and bandwidth like you wouldn't believe. It is expensive. And so far, the only people to raise their hand and say, I'm willing to pay, is the advertiser. But they want their pound of flesh for it. Right? They want to know your deepest, darkest secrets so they can sell you Huggies. And advertisers do pay for these results. Google makes about $20 per user per year on your privacy. Facebook makes about $8. Most content sites and most free antivirus sites, they make about $2 per year on you. What is your privacy worth? In a site that does not allow for highly targetable advertising, in other words, they don't sell a lot of your privacy, they can get about 50 cents CPM, or cost per 1,000 impressions. For a site that does allow highly targetable advertising, they charge between $20 and $30 CPM. There are some instances in the Middle East where they charge up to $2,000 for your data. And the internet isn't the only place that your privacy is bought and sold. Your grocery store, your gas station, your utilities, your phone company, they're all selling your data as well. And I won't even get into sort of the homeland security thing. You need to manage your own privacy. Only about 38% of us realize that there are tools to manage your privacy, and even a smaller portion of that 38% actually use some of these tools. But I'm here to tell you there are some great tools available, and I'm only going to talk about the first three. Privacy management tools, there are great privacy management tools. In fact, there's a little local company here that's doing a terrific job. Check them out at privacyfix.com. Local company, so we're doing good for the local community. These privacy management tools allow you to, on a macro level, to decide what you will and what you won't share. DNT, or do not track browsers, are another solution, but they're not foolproof, and the advertisers can play around with them. And then finally, the virtual private networks that we talked about the Egyptians using. These virtual private networks, Norton has one that's just about to come out live, parallels my company, AnchorFree. We all have virtual private networks, and they protect you both in terms of your ability to be secure on the internet, but also be anonymous on the internet. So even if you're tracked, you're not tracked to you. I'm asked a lot about, what specific companies you should look at for these tools. I set up a quick website. It's called recommendedsolutions.com if you want to go look at the ones that I'm suggesting. Your privacy, much like your own destiny, is in your control. But you need to own it. Your privacy shouldn't be trusted to a large corporation. Your privacy shouldn't be trusted to your best friend. You need to own it. And there are tools out there that you can do so to protect yourself and to protect the entire concept of openness. Openness, as we've seen today, is an amazing process by which we see some incredible innovation and society really benefits. But privacy is the flip side of that coin. And we need to fight just as hard to support, to protect privacy as we do openness, democracy, and our freedom. Thank you.